You're tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest, live on 1150 KKNW. We provide our listeners with information from business professionals to bring solutions to your daily life and local charities to provide you with the opportunities to give back to your community as well. And today we are here in studio with Paula Guidice. Paula is the executive director of Little Bit Therapeutic Riding Center on Avondale Road in Redmond. Previous to coming to Little Bit last spring, Paula was the executive director of the Pacific Northwest Pollution Prevention Resource Center in Seattle. She has been the regional or executive director of 2 other nonprofit organizations, including the National Wildlife Federation. During her 20 years of nonprofit experience, she has a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration from the University of Nevada and a Master's in Education degree from Regis University. She and her husband have 2 grown children, and they make their home here in Sammamish. Welcome.
Thank you. It's so great to be here today.
Yeah, we're excited to have you.
Talk about horses.
I know. Well, I think it's
Great
also
kids.
about the people.
It
not,
is.
Oh, for
not
sure.
just
But
the
it's really
horses,
just a
so.
cool thing that
It
you're
is.
doing.
It's so amazing.
Absolutely.
So could you just sort of start us off? Tell us, what's the mission of Little Bit? What do you guys do?
So our mission is to improve the bodies, minds, and spirits of children and adults with disabilities through equine-assisted therapies and activities. And because we're one of the largest centers of our kind in the country, we also act as a resource and a professional resource for other colleagues around the country who are working in centers like ours.
Wow.
Are there a lot of centers doing what you guys do?
There are quite a few. I think there are 11 in Washington. We are
okay.
the second largest center in the country, however. So
Oh, you are?
We've been operating since 1976 in the east side. We were originally in Woodinville at a small facility, and then in the last 5 years or so, we've moved to a larger facility in Woodinville or in Redmond to accommodate our growth.
Wow.
That's
Really
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
So tell us about the programs that you guys have there at Little Bit.
Our 2 flagship programs are our Hippotherapy program, which is where our therapists work with mostly pediatric cases now. So we have speech therapists, we have occupational therapists, and physical therapists who work with our patients on horseback to gain different kinds of functional mobility for our clients. We also have our adaptive riding program, which is more of a recreational program, and that program serves riders from the ages of 4 up to 68. So no one ever really grows out of our program. We can take riders as young as 2, and we do have some riders that are just adorable that are 2 years old, and we have some adults who've suffered multiple sclerosis or strokes or other kinds of conditions, and they're riding well into their 60s.
Wow. So how does that work? You said like the hippotherapy for patients are receiving treatment like on a horse?
On a horse. So the nice thing about the horses is when someone's sitting on a horse, whether they have a lot of mobility or limited mobility, they get the 360-degree pelvic movement that a human pelvis has when you're walking. And so through that riding motion, they gain strength and motor coordination. They gain muscle tone, postural alignment. It can reduce their stiffness, improve flexibility, and also make them stronger so that they can have gains in other parts of their lives. So it helps young kids who have never been able to walk actually gain the strength to be able to walk. And then there are some other things that happen too with for those who have sensory processing disorders. There's the input from the horse is measured and predictable, so it helps those with sensory processing disorders. And then, of course, that's natural bond that humans have with animals and with horses, and that bond is really special for our riders and for our horses too, who really react with our riders. They're very patient and steadfast, and watching that happen is really remarkable.
Wow.
So they do the patients, do they have a particular, like, one horse that they ride each time?
Yeah.
I mean, do they build a relationship with the horse, or is it just whichever? I mean, how many horses do you have, I guess?
We have 25 horses in our
Wow.
program, and we try to pair our our riders with certain horses. And on the therapy side, it's very interesting because our therapists will get on a horse and they'll try to understand what kind of gait and motion the horse has, and they can pair their riders, their patients, with a certain horse to help them build a certain quality that they're looking for through that gait. So they really are, they really work hard to pair the rider and the horse together. And the horses and the riders often have a long time relationship. But we do move horses around with riders, and sometimes the horses have a tweaked muscle or need to go to the farrier. So those sort of things happen that then the riders can switch horses. But our herd is really great. We have a great herd of horses, and they're and they really are. We choose them. They go through a 6-week trial period. We choose them very carefully for the outcomes that we expect from our riders and our patients. So they have to be steadfast and solid. For our therapists, we're always reaching up to grab and hold on to a patient on the back of the horse. We like some of the smaller horses, like Norwegian fjords, so they can have a little bit more control.
Right.
And then with we have some draft horses that work with our adult riders that are larger, and they're just rock solid. We have 2 retired police horses from the city of Seattle. They've donated horses to our program, and they're unflappable. The only thing that was different about those horses is when they came out to the country, they'd never seen rabbits and squirrels and birds. So they're used to different kinds of stimuli. But
cars and horns and things, right?
Concrete.
And geese.
Yeah.
They're settling in quite nicely, though.
Wow. I was going to ask. So the horse, I mean, they don't go through any particular training per se, but they just have a period where you're like learning their temperament and that kind of thing. Is that what it's more about?
Well, that happens too, but we also have trainers on our staff who work with horses that need to maybe develop their top line or different parts of their body to allow them to work with riders. So after the trial period and they pass their vet checks, then our instructors and our therapists and our trainers will work together to help bring those horses into our program and teach them their jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Gosh, it is so amazing. So, what kind of diagnosis do you guys serve there at Little Bit?
So we have over 100 different diagnoses that we treat. So anything from we have a lot of patients who have autism, a lot of riders who have autism. We have our pediatric cases, cerebral palsy, muscular dystrophy, multiple sclerosis, just a number of different diagnoses. We also have another program that's not one of our flagship programs. It's one of our newer programs, and it's called Equine Facilitated Psychotherapy. And so that is where mental health professionals in the community will bring their clients out to work with horses with our horses in our arenas, with one of our mental health experts working with our horses. Mm-hmm. So that's a new program for us, and it's gaining popularity. One of the centers here on the east side brings their patients who have autism out to work with our horses. When we are also working with Residence 12, which is a women's recovery program, and they come out to bond with our horses, and the results are really remarkable.
I'm sure.
So they're more like caring for the horse and things, not necessarily riding. It's more of the
That's
the
correct.
bond.
They're
Yeah.
unmounted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
Wow. So how do people hear about you? I mean, are they referred to you by doctors or just word of mouth, or how do they know to come to you guys for therapy?
So our website is really great, littlebit.org, but we also have referrals that come for our therapy program. So a lot of the centers that work with children that have disabilities refer to us, and we're actually now expanding our therapy program and we have the option to treat a few more patients. So we're bringing in new patients for evaluations and see if they're right for the program now. And then, word of mouth. We've been here for many years, so a lot of people have heard about Little Bit. And so we bring people in that way too.
So how many patients are you serving on a regular basis?
Typically we have about 350 clients or patients in a year, unduplicated riders and patients.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is so cool.
And we couldn't do our work without the volunteers that serve our community.
Tell us about volunteer
that.
opportunities.
Yes. We always need volunteers to come and help us. We have we depend on over 300 volunteers a week to help us with our programs.
week?
A week. So either on our barn team or working in the arenas, helping lead horses or sidewalking with our riders. So we do volunteer training quite frequently and bring people who either have a bond with horses and want to get back to their roots, that really like to be in the barn, or have a special connection with those that have disabilities and want to help out. So we really depend on our volunteer pool to help us a lot. Overall, we have a pool of over 1,100 volunteers that help us. So
Wow.
You must have a lot of regulars that just.
we do.
Yeah.
We have volunteers who have been with us for over 20 years or so, and just terrific. And some of our riders as well.
Oh yeah.
So do they have to have some sort of, you said like they have to get training. I mean, is there some sort
What's
of,
that look like?
yeah, for a volunteer?
So if you don't need to have horse experience to
Okay.
come to volunteer with us, or experience working with disabled people, but so we do the training. It's a few hours, spread out over time. It depends on the level of work you want to do. So if you want to be on the barn team, shoveling doesn't require a lot
I
of
was just
training.
going to say that.
Yeah, just get after it, right?
But our sidewalkers, they're responsible for the riders on the horses. So they go through an hour of training. And then if someone wants to be a leader for the horses, they're responsible for the horses. It takes a little bit more training to get our leaders to come on board. But we're actually in need of leaders. So if people have had a horse experience, they don't have to spend as much time in our training program as others do.
What kind of experience do they have to have?
Are you thinking about yourself? Well,
Come on.
No, I'm asking for our listeners in case they want to know. They've ridden, a few times a year, and over the years, and I'm just wondering.
No, we have people that have no horse experience. We have quite a few high school students who actually do their service learning out a little bit. So
that's awesome.
We'll help you if you don't have to have a lot of experience to
That's
come into
good.
our program.
Do you have any really cool success stories you could tell us?
Oh, I do. We have. This is one of the great things about this nonprofit is you can actually see the impact you're having every single day you go to the office. So I have a window in my office where I can watch. It's really great. But Jacob is one of our riders, and his mom said I could share the story.
Oh, good.
So he was born with cerebral palsy. When he was 1 year old, he came onto our waiting list because he had to be 2 to ride in the program. And when he first came, he's the youngest of 3 children, and his mom spent a lot of time with him, and he didn't have a lot of independence from his mom. Just being on the horse and helped him gain that independence and that experience working with other people. And in just a few short months, he was sitting upright. He was able to walk when he hadn't walked before. He started when he was about 2. He's almost 3 now. And yesterday I saw him coming out of the arena. His favorite thing is he can trot on the horse with very little support.
Wow.
So he's, his therapist will be holding on his belt in the back just for a little support. He calls it bumpy.
Oh.
And this kid has a ginormous smile on his face. His mom said that she thinks that he was brought here to not just a little bit, but in our community, on our earth, to bring joy to everyone who meets him, because he's always smiling, no matter what's going on with him physically.
That's awesome. He's probably so proud, sitting up there riding along.
Oh yeah.
And his sisters had a lemonade stand to raise money for a little bit last summer. It's just a really great. We have really great families in our community, so we love them all.
That's awesome.
We love success stories. So cute. So, what other needs do you guys have? How else can we support a little bit?
Well, horses are expensive, so
yeah, I'm sure.
So we really depend on the generosity of the community to help support us, and we have an auction coming up on April 21st, so people can get engaged that way. But again, all of our volunteers, helping our volunteer pool would be really special. We take donations of tack. We take other kinds of donations that people bring. So if we have you cleaning out your barn and you have extra tack around, we take donations that we will either use in our programs or we sell to raise money to support our programs. So
Are you guys subsidized at all, or is it all just private funding?
it's all private. It's all private funding.
Wow.
And we also depend on our families depend on the generosity of our donors too to help defray the costs, because it can be expensive, and there's a lot of our riders depend on the generosity of our community to help defray those costs of the riding lessons and the sessions that we have.
Are there any would insurance companies cover this type of therapy at all, or probably not?
In some places, they are covering hippotherapy. In Washington State, most insurance companies are not covering hippotherapy. So in Oregon, there was a bill introduced into the legislature last go-around to have insurance companies cover hippotherapy. It didn't pass, but I think it's a good start, and we hope that eventually we can have that happen in Washington to provide more support for our families.
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, with the difference that makes, it seems like it should be, right?
Definitely. Well, gosh, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing that with us. I'm sure we'll be down a little bit pretty soon, huh, Mom? I have a feeling
We'd love to have
we're going to be there.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for tuning in to Financial Fitness Northwest. When we come back, we'll have the Riley Johnson team market update. Today we're going to discuss mortgage insurance and how it's removed. So stay tuned.